Hey guys, Sydney Bray-Gwynn here today, and with me I have
Riley Rusk.
and we are going to teach you how to ceramic coat your car from start to finish. Behind us we have a Mazda CX-70 hybrid. This car is only a couple months old, so it's in pretty good shape. So step by step, we did in a live stream video the other day, we did do our appropriate prep. So always you want to start out with a good car wash, decon. You can use either an iron remover, clay bar, anything that you need to do to get the surface completely decontaminated and smooth. And then we are going to jump into polishing the glass first. That's going to remove any speckling, water spotting, and it's also going to appropriately prep our front windshield for a glass coating. Then we're going to polish the paint with Rehab, which is a one-step correction cream. Then we will paint prep the entire car to remove any waxes, buildups, all of our fingerprints, things like that. And then we are going to apply the Stout coating. So let's get started. We're gonna get to taping. You go ahead and do all the rounded parts. So I do think we're still gonna tape off the vents just because we're gonna go around those with a 3-inch polisher. It gives us a little bit more control of the pad, but I think I still wanna tape them off. You know, Mazda plastic does tend to absorb compounds and polishes, so just for safety's sake and to save us time later, we're gonna just go ahead and tape off all the plastics. Okay, Riley, now that we have everything taped off, we are going to switch to polishing glass. So this is gonna be fun. So I understand you've never used a Rupes battery-powered polisher before. So this is gonna be fun. So we use these primarily because we're working in small spaces. I really like the battery tools just so that we can get in and out and not have cords everywhere. So this will be good. So one thing I do wanna mention is why I choose to start with the glass. So Clarity Cream, it does dust a little bit, it can be a little bit dirty, but the main reason I use it is when we'll notice we did not tape the paint at the top of the windshield, right? The reason I do that is because one, it takes a lot of time to tape everything off. Yes. So for efficiency's sake, I start with Clarity Cream because it does make a little bit of a mess, and that way if we accidentally go up over the paint, it's gonna make a little mark, like a little hazing marring, but it's gonna come right out as soon as we hit it with polish. So I do that for efficiency. Because I know that I'm gonna go back over that area with my regular polisher. So we are gonna start with Clarity Cream. So we are gonna grab our polishers and we'll each do half of the windshield. And so you'll just line up your pad there. And so we're using yellow. This is like a medium polishing pad. This is just a great all-around glass pad. So this glass, since it is kind of new, we're not dealing with a lot of water spots. We don't have a lot of contamination. So we just want to make sure that the glass gets prepped properly. If we were dealing with more water spotting or things like that, we might choose a more aggressive pad, but that's kind of the beauty of this product is it's very pad adaptable, but kind of the standard, you know, general use is going to be the yellow. So we're going to put 4 dots on there. Now, you will notice this is a very liquidy product. So when we move to the glass, we're going to have to do a little technique so that we don't get sprayed with pink polish. Yep. And then we are gonna go up on our steps here. And so I normally polish 1/2 of the windshield at a time. So now I'm gonna let you get up and put yours on the glass because I'm gonna tell you how to work the machine. So first things first is because this is so liquidy, I kind of spread this around a little bit because I don't want it to splatter back at me. So I kind of spread it around to make a thing. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna turn your dial to like 1 or 2, and then you have a trigger that you're gonna hold down. But first you need to put it to the glass. You don't ever wanna start it not on the glass because it'll fling all over you. So you're gonna put it down, turn the dial on, and then push your trigger there on the top. So it's not gonna turn on until you push your lever down, yep. So we're gonna do like level, I usually do about 1 until I get it spread out, and I draw a box. So I'm just gonna frame my box out. And this was the part where I was talking, we don't necessarily have to worry if we just skip up there a little bit, it's no big deal. And then once I have that, then I speed it up to just 2. I don't usually polish glass over 2 because these are pretty mighty. I only did about 2 or 3 passes. So again, on a windshield like this, which doesn't have a lot of contamination, it doesn't have a lot of scratching or anything, 2 to 3 passes is going to be plenty to do what we need to prep the surface. If you have water spots or something like that, you'll want to just do a couple more passes. While she finishes that up, I'm going to move to my side glass. Just do a couple drops there. We'll get this wiped off. So a couple things about doing the side glass is you'll notice this product it kind of dries out and it can be a little bit dusty. So you want to make sure that you're doing kind of like a towel flip, I call it. And you want to make sure to get all of the pink dust out of these cracks before you move on. And then let's hypothetically say you have a vehicle that has a lot of water spotting and you have these little corners that you couldn't reach in with the polishing pad. So what I'll do is I'll just put like a very little bit on a corner of a towel and just manually take that product up there, and it kind of cleans up those corners and makes the whole glass uniform. Super easy. All right, so we are going to finish out the rest of the glass and then we'll get started on the paint. We are working on polishing out the roof. Riley's finishing her side. So while she does that, I'm going to go hook up our Ultra Air Blaster to the air compressor so that we can blow our pads out and get a couple more uses out of them. We will grab our Ultra Air Blaster right here. We started on the roof of the vehicle. I always start at the highest point, so I get that part polished out just for, if we need to lean across the car or anything. The roofs are always interesting to get to. So now we are ready to do the paint correction on the main body of the car. So real quick, I wanted to explain what polisher and pad we chose and why. So today we're going to be using the Rupes system. So this is a random orbital machine, and it's just a nice friendly machine that's going to do a great job on this correction. We don't need anything heavier like a rotary or something like that on this one. And then I chose the EdgeGuard Blueberry pad. This is a medium cutting pad, which sounds a little bit aggressive, but the reason I choose this one is it doesn't cause any marring, but it does a lot of cutting. So we are going to do this correction in one step, meaning only one pad, one polish. So we're going to be using P&S Rehab Correction Cream. It is a compound, however, it cuts and finishes in the one step. So it's going to finish out really nice, no dusting, super easy wipe off. So when combined with the blueberry, we're going to get a lot of cut. We're not going to have to go back with a second step. And so this is just one of my favorite combinations. So we are going to knock out the entire body of this vehicle using these products, and then we're going to be ready to paint prep. Okay, Riley, so the way that I prefer to do it with pad cycling is to use the same pad for 2 panels, but we blew them out in between. And then after the second panel, I like to switch to a new pad. This keeps the correction consistent throughout. If you let too much compound build up in your pad, you'll start to get less cut from the pad, and then you'll wonder why the last part that you did doesn't look as good as the first part. So I like to make sure that we have enough pads to cycle them out appropriately. So we're gonna switch our pads, and then we're gonna switch to the other side of the vehicle.
Alrighty.
I'm going to remove this dealership logo for a couple different reasons. One, I don't care for them much myself, but 2, the biggest thing about this is that we want to remove those because we are correcting this paint and also we are coating it. If we coat over that and say it gets traded in a couple years, goes to a different dealership of a different brand, and they go to pull this off, there's going to be an outline of this. So just for the sake of the future of this car, we're going to remove this emblem. So I'm going to use a heat gun on low heat and a plastic scraper, and hopefully this just peels right off. That was nice and easy. I do feel like using the heat gun heats up the adhesive, so I definitely didn't melt it, but I heated it up enough to soften it, so it makes it come off really easy, and I've been left with very little residue. So now there's just a little frame of residue that I need to get off, so I'm gonna go grab a adhesive remover. So this is gonna be super easy. I'm gonna use Ulex from Koch and a little ripping rag. We're just gonna put a little bit on there. You don't need a ton. And then we're just gonna work it back and forth over the area. It's gonna come off super fast, super easy. I'm gonna flip, wipe the residue off, and then we are ready to polish. We are all done with the paint correction. It turned out absolutely amazing. So now we are ready to pull our tape, and then we're gonna paint prep the entire vehicle, glass, plastic, paint, everything, just to remove any of that polish residue, get any dressings that got on the plastic, because we're gonna coat the plastics too, which is really cool. So let's pull the tape and then we'll get to paint prep. Paint prep is finished. The car is ready for coating. So we are going to start coating basically top down, just like we did. We are going to be using P&S's latest coating called Stout. So this is just utilizing the latest technology. So it's going to be a really user-friendly application, great customer experience, and just a quick, easy on-off. So let's get started. So we will open the box here, and we have a door jamb sticker. We'll fill that out at the end. We'll give the bottle a little shake. So we have, we each have an applicator. We are gonna use a pearl weave towel for our towel 1 and a creature for towel 2, which just happens to be my favorite combo. You can use whatever combo you'd like. On these applicators, this is a thick coating. So we're gonna wanna really load up our applicator the first time. Then on the refills, we don't need to use quite as much, but on this first one, we're gonna use a pretty hefty amount. There you go. And then we are actually going to start on the top of the vehicle. So I'm going to move a little stair back here. And for the same reason that we started polishing up there, we want to make sure that we're not leaning on fresh coating. So you can start on that side of the roof, and we'll just work our way down and then be able to move our step stools out of the way. So you want to take your towels with you. Now, application of this coating is super easy. We are going to work in pretty small sections, so flash time on this is 20 to 30 seconds, which means you want to get it off of there. So it will harden, it will high spot, and it won't be fun to get off. So this is not a self-cannibalistic coating, meaning re-wetting it with the applicator does not work. So we want to make sure we get it off. So as you are working with it, you can work in larger sections as you feel comfortable with that 30-second wipe off, but we're going to stick with pretty small sections. So if we just split this in half, we're going to draw a box, and I'm going to go to just this first line on the sunroof here, just kind of as a guide. And we don't really have to cross hatch. You can if you want, but you definitely don't have to if you don't want to. All right, we're just gonna get it laid down. Now this coating, we'll see it better when we're down lower, but it will kind of bubble up, and then you'll notice that it will start to kind of gray out. So it sweats, it doesn't rainbow, and then it starts to turn gray. So that's when you wanna start wiping it off. And I always go 25% over where I finished, just to make sure that I've got all of my area. And so this first wipe is just the leveling wipe. And then we're gonna come back with our second towel, and this is gonna be the one that just buffs all that residue off. And it's super, super slick and easy. Even though it's a thick coating, it's not sticky at all, which is nice. Load up my applicator here, and then I'll hand you the bottle. There you go. And then what we're gonna do here is we're each gonna do half the hood. So we're gonna split it straight down the middle, and we're gonna do it in 4 separate sections. So the amount of space that you wanna do is as much as you can apply and then be ready to wipe off in 20 to 30 seconds. So when the coating goes on, we're gonna see that it is going to kind of sweat, and then it flattens out and grays out, and that's gonna tell us that it's time to wipe off. So I'm gonna start right here, and I always start with a diagonal wet line. You can do whatever works for you. I just do this because then it disperses the majority off of my applicator throughout the middle. And then I'm gonna draw a box about halfway down, and then we're just gonna do nice even lines. You can absolutely cross hatch. I usually don't, just because I don't think it's necessary, but whatever is comfortable for you is totally fine. You can't really mess much up with this coating. All right, so we can see that it is going to sweat, and then it starts to flatten out. So you can really see that. So this coating does not rainbow. It just flattens out. Now when I do my wipe off, I'm gonna go 25% over the area that I coated. So I'm gonna come down here, and I'm gonna go, about 25% over where I finished my line here. And this first wipe is just our leveling wipe. So we don't have to worry about getting it all off in this first wipe. This is just gonna level it. And then when we come back with our second wipe, it's gonna buff all of that residue off, super easy. All right. And as you can see, even though this coating is super thick, it wipes off really, really easy. Really nice.
What's the cure time on this?
So surface cures about an hour. So technically this car could be released in 1 hour after we're done coating it. And then curing for when it can be washed would be 48 hours. So it can get wet right away. It can be touched, it can be driven, it can live its life. It just can't be washed or have any kind of pressure in the first couple hours. And then, like I said, you can literally wash it 48 hours later, which is really cool. I know before it was always hard telling people, wait to wash your car for 7 days, and they'd freak out even though they weren't gonna wash their car anyway. Okay, so now we're gonna do the second part.
How long does this coating last?
So at P&S, we don't really like to put a time frame on coatings because it is very subjective to what the manufacturer of the car is, where does it live, what state does it live in, does it park inside, outside, garage, does it go through a car wash? But we know everybody wants to know the answer to that question. So I would put this up against other 5 to 7 year coatings on the market. So it is a very long-term coating. So super durable, it's gonna hold up really well in car washes. It's gonna do great with if in an area with salt, so very chemically impervious. And it's, It's obviously not completely scratch resistant, no coatings are, but it's really gonna hold up really well. So the hardness of it is pretty high on the scale. So it's gonna take a car wash brushes much better than just factory paint. And also another thing I should mention is this coating does react with the paint pretty quickly. So if you find that you have like a little cloud that's making you nervous, it's okay to like push to get it off. Like you're not removing too much coating, if that makes sense. So right away, everything that has cross-linked with the paint is all that the paint needs. So it's okay to, press if you have to get that.
What happens if you do have a high spot?
Then you're probably gonna have to go back with polish, to be honest. So it is not going to like self-cannibalize. You can't just re-wet that area. So you do really wanna watch for high spots. That's why I tell people like, don't be afraid, like, get it off there. Make sure you're not leaving a high spot. Because you will have to repolish. It's a pretty solid coating. So how do you feel about it? Pretty good?
Yeah,
Easy?
I really like the coating.
Yeah. So it's super user friendly. That's one of the things that I love about it is it takes all of the stress and frustration out of coating for me. So now that we've got the hood done, we are just gonna go down each side and we'll just knock the car out.
All right.
To recap, we washed, decontaminated this car. We polished it with rehab in a one-step paint correction. We used paint prep to get all of the fingerprints and waxes and all of that off of the surface. And then we coated it with Stout, which is P&S's latest coating. And Riley, what do you think?
I think it looks amazing. It's incredible the shine that the coating has added to the vehicle.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's almost like you can look down into the paint now, which is just crazy. And I know you guys don't have like the field of vision, but it is crazy slick. So absolutely amazing. I feel like we have, simplified the process so that even if people want to do it at home, they can, which is super nice. It's just a really great combo and just a really solid coating. So I hope this helped you learn a little bit more about ceramic coating a vehicle and how it has evolved and become quite user-friendly. Leave us a comment below if you have any questions about this specific coating or just doing the process in general. For more tips and tricks, stay tuned right here at the Rag Company YouTube channel.